Thank you very much, and good morning again. Would like to take us out. I believe this is the inaugural state of MLGW, and also, yeah, Councilwoman Rhonda Logan is here on the front row. I didn't see you either. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Anyone else? Did we miss anyone else? Elected official. So I believe this is the inaugural state of MLGW message, and we want to certainly thank everyone. I believe that one thing I can assure you is that because this is a baseline of how we're going to cover this maybe in years to come, it probably won't be as glamorous as the State of the Unions that you've seen before. But I am going to ask.
Did you out your notes there?
I have not. Don't want anybody tearing up stuff. But what I will say is that I'm going to ask my executive team members to help me here when I get to a point where I may not have everything together. Just sort of step in and help me out on that. But I am excited about this opportunity to talk about some of the things, the great things that are happening and that have happened at MLGW, and some of the greater things that I believe will be happening in the future. And so I think this will be an opportunity for us to have that conversation and just to share it with members of the public. We've shared some of these iteratively along the way, but I think collectively to have this conversation now, I will state up front, this probably will not be as comprehensive. There will be some areas and some things that we can't cover just for sake of time. But I am just so excited about what's going on with MLGW right now and the potential that we have. I felt that I really needed to talk about this collaboratively with everyone. And so we'll start off with one of the greatest things that I think is important for us to remember, and that's our mission and vision. And we last year formulated our mission and vision. And of course, we say that all the time. We talk about our desire to safely deliver services that create and sustain superior customer experiences as our mission every day, and then to be the trusted provider of exceptional customer value in the communities we are privileged to serve is our vision. That underlines and undergirds everything that we do here at MLGW. And so I'll start off with that because it's foundational to the other things that we'll be talking about today. So let me just give you a brief overview of some of the statistics maybe that will be helpful where we finished up 2019. And again, I have copies, we will have copies for everyone afterwards for those who need it afterwards. But let's talk a little bit about our customers. Excuse me one second. Dana, can you hand me one copy? I actually don't have a copy. I probably should have done that. My eyes are different here. So let's talk about our customers. In 2019, the good news is we actually saw customer growth across all three divisions. We actually saw growth in gas, electric, and water, which is a great thing to see. These days, utilities don't see a lot of customer growth. And so for us to see any customer growth is pretty exciting. I remember the days back in the early days of my career when customer growth was around 1.5% to 2% a year, but that dwindled, but we're just grateful to see what's happened here with our customers. A couple of other key stats that I'd like to make sure we are aware of. Our call center handled 1.3 million calls. So folks in our call center actually physically handled 1.3 million calls. Now that was down 9% from the year before, but that's a lot of calls that they actually handle. As you all may know, many calls come in and go through our IVR process and are handled without ever touching an agent, but these are calls that our agents actually handle. We met 98% of our appointments with our customers, and we actually had an increase in tickets. We call these tickets things that come up that we have to go out and deal with. Maybe we have to research some items on customers' accounts and do some things with address changes and do some things with leak detection out in the field, do a lot of different things. That increased over 50% last year, and we handle all of those with our staff, and they did a great job with that. When you look at sales, total annual sales and revenue, we looked at across the division, electric, gas, and water. We saw a little bit of a reduction on the electric sale. That's not unusual in the industry right now. We know that customer usage is going down on a per customer basis and has been doing that for a while. The efficiency is going on, and that's a good thing in one sense. On the gas side, we actually saw an increase in usage, about 14%, and a little bit of increase in water. And so that was across all three divisions. We saw those things happening. From a revenue standpoint, we were relatively flat on electric. down a little bit in gas, but up some in water in terms of the actual revenue collected. But what about reliability? You hear a lot about reliability in terms of our electric reliability, and one of the things I wanted to point out is that when you think about how our customers, you heard a customer this morning talking about an outage that they experienced, Reverend Hunt's outage that he experienced. None of us want to have outages, none of us want to experience outages. But in 2019, as we anticipated our inability to make some changes and some improvements on our system, we saw that materialize because we saw about 4% more customers on average per month experience an outage. So we were at about 68,000 versus about 65,000 a year before. And those average minutes of outage were up 22% to 204 minutes. That's again, average outage minutes per customer for the year. And then when you looked at the total minutes overall that customers were out, and this is in millions, we saw a 27% increase in total outage minutes for 2019 over 2018. And that was not, again, that was not something that we did not expect, but we're trying to make some changes to improve that going forward, of course. On the people side, when you look at the people, our full-time employees, we were down about 1.2%. These do not include vacancies. These include actual full-time, actual employees that are on site at about 2,600, but those were the actual people. And then vacancies, of course, we're at about 2,900 when you add 2,900 when you look at vacancies and part-time positions. Now that gives you a little bit of an idea around stats, and now I just want to spend a few minutes talking a little bit about some of the highlights, and I want to talk about the thing that we call our values, the MLGW way. These are our values. These are things that are our DNA, and when you talk about values, much like you may have in your family, much like you may have in any other business, these are the things that really drive us and cause us to behave in the way we should for the benefit of our customers and our community. And it all starts with safety, and this is paramount because of the things that we do, the nature of what we do, safety is important. And so it's the most important thing we do. It is certainly paramount. In everything we do, we want to make sure that we work safely, and I'll talk more about that as well. Integrity is critical, and so we want to make sure that we are doing the right things for the right reason, and that helps us build trust. We know that is a process. We know that is something that we have to work on every day. We're continuing to do that. When you think about our other ownership is our third value of the MLGW way, because we care about this enterprise. We care about the MLGW enterprise. We want to act as owners of the enterprise. We want to make sure that we treat this enterprise as we would if it was our own. We want to make decisions for the long term, and we want to think about innovation, and we want to think about what's in the best interest of everyone concerned, all our stakeholders. Inclusion is important, and that's a fourth value of the MLGW way. We live and work in a very diverse environment, and we actually have to make sure that what we do is inclusive of all thoughts and all perspectives. We're committed to including and developing this similar diversity, not just in our people, but also in the way we procure products and services, and that is continuing to be a focus of ours. And then the last value is compassionate service, and it has to do with how we provide service to the folks we deal with, whether it's internally or externally. We do want to do that with empathy, courtesy, and efficiency. So what I'll talk about now are the accomplishments from 2019 oriented around our values, oriented around the MLGW way. So when you think about safety, as we talked about that being paramount, what we saw last year, overall we saw safety improvements just across the divisions. We saw that accidents were down. We saw that overall safety measures were moving in the right direction. We saw, I think this is mainly attributed to the safety action plan that was put into place last year and actually began in the fall of 2018, but actually really put into place last year and is moving forward. We see some from a statistics standpoint. We saw lost time injuries, although lost time injuries were up in 2019 over 2018. We actually saw that medical recordable injuries were down, as were light duty days. And preventable vehicle accidents were down 37% over the year before. So what we're beginning to see is a positive impact of our safety culture moving in the right direction. We know that's going to take time, but we're seeing results. We have instituted something called BOLOs, be on the lookout, which we believe are leading indicators, ways in which we can actually prevent incidents from occurring before they happened. And we know that there's a correlation with leading indicators, because when you can implement leading indicators appropriately, you can prevent sometimes very, very tragic incidents and accidents later. So Chandrika and her team, under Von's leadership, have done a great job in formulating and putting together our safety program. We also saw a reinstatement of the Joint Union Management Safety Committee last year. And that's something that's going to be helpful, because it is an inclusive way of ensuring that we make sure that safety stays top of mind for all of our employees and not just a few. Some of you may remember this, that last year we actually had a team of linemen that participated in the TVPPA Lineman Rodeo in Leavenworth City, Tennessee. And one of our apprentice linemen, Michael Calderon, placed third in the individual egg climb event, and the overall team placed second in the insulator changeout competition. This is a really big deal. For those of you, I've been in this industry for 37 years, and anytime you place like this in a lineman rodeo, because it's safety focused, it's focused on skills, it is a huge deal. So congratulations to that team for the great job that they've done. Well, when you think about integrity, remember we talked about that, of course, as another element of the MLGW way. From an integrity perspective, there's so many things, but I'll focus just on a couple here today. We saw that we climbed to number 7. MLGW climbed to number 7 in the Security 500 rankings. That was up from number 16 in 2018, which was a big, big deal. And so kudos to a number of people in Lachelle Vaughn's organization and also Alan's organization for focusing us on cybersecurity, making sure that we're doing the right things when it comes to compliance. It recognizes corporations, this award does, and organizations and companies where they excel in the area of security, in particular cybersecurity. Puts us, with this, where we ended up last year, puts us in an arena with folks like ExxonMobil, Shell, and really we're just ahead of Entergy in the rankings. So that's fabulous. I mentioned earlier that our teammates met 98% of our customer appointments as scheduled. When we schedule appointments with customers, we're at that appointment 98% of the time when we said we would be, which is incredible, and that's a great, we want to improve that, but that's also great. You may remember last fall, we had a big deal here in Memphis, and it was called ESPN's College Game Day, right? That was a big deal. Well, MLGW had a role to play in that as well. We had folks stationed in a lot of places to ensure that power stayed on, make sure that we were available. We had to do some things before they even got here to set up, and our team went out and quickly met those demands and did that in a great way. So thanks to the teams that went out and did that. We also want to talk about ownership, right? When we talk about the importance of our values, we want to talk about ownership and innovation as well. When you think about ownership and innovation, we had to operate last year with a budget of about $41 million less than we had anticipated from an O&M perspective. So that was important for us to be innovative about how we met the needs and the demands of our customers. We partnered with Verizon to make Memphis the 22nd city in the country to get the Verizon 5G network. Our teams went out and did a lot of that work. In particular, Wayne Jackson and his team was engaged with that. They did a great job. We also had, from an innovation standpoint, a gas leak detection process that's been automated. And this actually creates a more efficient and easier process for inspections and surveys. This helps us to report these leaks sooner, with the crews being able to call within a few minutes, being able to be called out. Reduction of the cost by about $7,500 per device. We can run live reports and capture leaks as they arise in the field, and so that's been very important. We also launched a new responsive, mobile-friendly website, which has been very, very helpful for our customers. Also in the area of ownership, you may recall something called a rate case that we went through. So some of you remember that. A lot of folks were involved in this process, and we just want to thank, of course, the board and certainly the council for their indulgence and their partnership with us. We believe this was the first ever multi-year rate plan that we were able to receive, but it was also tied to our 5-year service improvement plan. And as you can see, in each of the divisions, we see some rate actions that's going to really help us improve our opportunity to serve our customers. We saw that happen late last year and culminate early this year. And you can't read these numbers, and that's okay, but this also shows you just the 5-year plan as it pertains to the actual budget plan. So in Dana's area, Rod Cleek and Tamika Young and others in that group did a great job working to make sure that this became a reality. And so this was a big deal for us. We spent a lot of time on it. A lot of teams worked together to make this happen. And we now have a plan. We now have a roadmap going forward, which is really important. Well, how about inclusion? Let's think about inclusion, right? So from an aspect of inclusion, we actually saw this past year the formulation of what we call the Power Supply Advisory Team. This team was put together to help provide input in our integrated resource plan process. This process is, as you know, tied to our decision around coming up with a decision around our power supply options. And this team has provided us with great input. We have one more meeting with this team, and they're doing a great job providing input for us as we go through this process. We tried to be inclusive with this, bringing folks from around the community to make sure we get input that's really, really important. So we're looking forward to the results of that. From a supplier diversity perspective, we see its continued focus and achievements in the area of supplier diversity. We're at about finished 2019. You'll get a more detailed report later as a board. About 34% of all our spend was with diverse suppliers, and that continues a trend that's increased since 2017. We also were out in the community making sure that we are engaging with the community on what we call power hours to talk about different things that are important to our customers, and we made sure that that was a focus of ours, and we'll continue to do that moving forward. And then lastly, around compassionate service, we have so many great examples, more than we can certainly enumerate. A number of phenomenal examples. I can start with United Way and the $670,000 that was collected mainly just from employee funding. That's phenomenal. We were the top donor to the Mid-South Food Bank Operation Feed, over $43,000. Raised $18,000 for junior achievement. Power of Warmth and Play It Cool provided heaters and air conditioning to qualified seniors. The Johnny Dawson Charitable Fund made $10,000 grants to organizations, a number of them like the YWCA, Agape, CSA, and the Glennis Cancer Foundation. So we saw a lot of activity around compassionate service as it pertains to our teams and being engaged. In the other areas of compassionate service, you all may have seen the media reports on Demetra Bowers-Adair and Kamala Mitchell, known as the Two Sisters. The Two Sisters who deliver meals to the homeless every Friday during their lunch break, take their own money and go out and do that. These are the kind of people that we have at MLGW. These are folks that are willing to sacrifice. Our teammates gave 648 units of blood, enough to assist over 1,900 individuals. And 3 of our employees were honored in 2019 as Mlgw Heroes for their life-saving and selfless actions. Safely restoring service to tens of thousands of customers following major storms in May and October. We had some major challenges, and we had folks that were out and about safely restoring power while many others were at home resting. We had folks out in the field doing things to make sure that our customers were able to get service back as quickly as possible. And then lastly, in the area of compassionate service, we established this Customer Value Council, so that we could assess and formulate plans to improve our J.D. Power results as well as other customer outcomes. And that group has been working diligently to make sure those things come about. Share the Pennies program, which I know is near and dear to the hearts of many of you, and including Chairwoman Robinson. Share the Pennies program, we celebrated the 350th home that was weatherized through a partnership between MLGW, TVA, and the city of Memphis and MIFA. And we celebrated that, I believe, back in October, and we saw some great results, and that homeowner was excited about the opportunity. Great things that happened in 2019, but what about what's on the horizon for 2020? There are a lot of things. I can't tell you, I can't speak to all of them, but I'll speak to a few of the things that are on the horizon for 2020. First of all, new substation, indicative of growth. First, a new substation 89 out Mendenhall and Shelby Drive that will serve about 8,000 customers and provide some load relief for growth out in the area of Hickory Hill. I talked earlier about the power supply recommendation, and that is going to be a big deal. I'm not sure that MLGW has had a more significant decision in front of it in its history than what we will be doing in the next few months regarding regarding our power supply, completion of our integrated resource plan, and then the subsequent likely execution of an RFP that will lead to a final recommendation that we'll bring to this board regarding our power supply. A couple other areas, we called it the MLGW Way Forward. That's ongoing, and that was also tied into our 5-year service improvement plan. It's the efficiencies that came out of the Baker-Tilly study that's giving us opportunities to find savings over the next 5 years to help fund some of the infrastructure improvements that we need to make. And that's ongoing. It's beginning as we speak. We're beginning to track savings. We're beginning to look at opportunities for process improvements and ways to make things better. Also, when we talk about that 5-year service improvement plan, as you may remember, that's $1 billion improvement plan for our system that includes a number of things, including tree trimming and substation and distribution equipment, procurement and replacement, water and gas system upgrades as well, LED lighting deployments, and some additional underground upgrades as well. So lots of opportunities coming there. And then, of course, there's the continued 5G rollout. We know that that's a big deal. That's going to continue. It's going to continue to stretch us. We're going to have to figure out ways to make sure that that happens, but our teams are ready. Expansion of additional customer options that are designed to enhance the customer experience are on the horizon. Some have already rolled out, including the new My Account, but with payment and outage and service and account information options that will be enhanced, primarily through leveraging technology for our customers so they can enjoy a better quality of service. Service options from an innovation standpoint. We're engaged with folks on the Pinch project, a number of other large developments that are going on across this community, including some options for our developers to make it easier to do business with MLGW as we move forward. Also on the horizon this year, Von Goodlow's been doing a phenomenal job trying to wear 2 hats, and I appreciate for the last year and a half him doing that. But on the horizon is we're going to be selecting a new chief people officer. We're in the process of finding that individual. That's going to be a search that will happen, and we'll be looking both internally and externally, but we want to make sure that as we do that, we accommodate the opportunities that were presented in the study, the Baker-Tilly study, around some centralizing of services around HR. We're going to look to complete a compensation study, and we're looking to make sure that we are doing right by our people as it pertains to their pay. So we're going to continue to do that as well. We're going to continue our emphasis, as I said earlier, on supplier diversity, actually wanting to seeking to increase participation, to make sure there's opportunities for broad participation in supplier diversity. So a lot of things going on, and I want to announce something today as well that we may not have been talking about publicly and that we're going to try to execute this year. It's on our horizon, and that is we want to make sure that we want to try to facilitate an economic symposium for key stakeholders in our region. We believe that MLGW has a unique position to be able to be engaged with stakeholders from all walks of life across this community. And we want to make sure that there's an economic development collaboration and networking that's a part of this symposium, an industry engagement that's a part of this symposium, education and training that's an outflow that helps sustain poverty reduction. We want to make sure that we include government, make sure we include healthcare, nonprofits, and others. This event would be something that we would like to see done annually. We want to make sure that we stay engaged and that we work with constituents around and stakeholders around the region to make sure that this remains a focus for us as we move forward. So with that, I will tell you that there are a lot of other things going on, but let me just quickly recap what I believe is important to know when it comes to what's happening with MLGW. Our people make this a great place to work, and I am so grateful that 2 years ago I was blessed to be able to find a spot here to join this team, because I would dare say that I don't think that there would be a better team for me to be a part of, and I'm just blessed and grateful to be here. Our people make this a great place to work. We're not perfect, and we're still working to get better every day. That's part of the challenge, and that's the reason we have our mission and our vision, is because we know that we have to continue to get better. We are focused on providing superior customer experiences in everything we do every day. Last year was a challenging year. Our people, though, rose to the occasion. They met the challenge that was put before them because they're great folks. But we have greater challenges, I believe, in 2020. Some of the challenges that we might not have yet seen. But we're going to be laser focused on accomplishing these objectives. Safely delivering expected results will be crucial to our success. And we will remain engaged as a leader in our communities that we are blessed and privileged to serve. That is incumbent upon us to make sure that we remain engaged, stay engaged with our stakeholders, providing the value that we believe our customers want and deserve. And so lastly, my only thing is to reiterate what I said a little bit earlier, and that is to say thank you to our board. Thank you to those on the council who saw fit to allow me to come here to be a part of this great team. I believe that in partnership with these great folks that I get to work with every day, I believe that we will have an opportunity to see some great changes in our community from our perspective, and the things that we can do to improve the opportunities for our citizens is paramount. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.